This song's called Vintage. I want a vintage guitar, I want a vintage car, I want a vintage house. I want to live in a vintage time, I want to wear vintage clothes. I wish everything was vintage, 'cause everything would be so great. I want a vintage life, and that's what I want. I want to listen to some vintage country music on a vintage radio. I want to do everything vintage. I want to wear vintage clothes and a vintage hat and some vintage shoes. I want to watch TV on a vintage TV. I'm vintage. I want to play a vintage guitar from 1962. I think thinking I want some vintage stuff in my life. I want to play a vintage guitar, I want to sing vintage songs, I want to listen to a vintage radio. I want everything vintage. I want to wear a vintage hat, I want to drive a vintage car, I want to live in a vintage house. I want everything vintage. Yes, I want everything vintage.